The title of this mini podcast is Imagination. At one point in my life, I was not into reading fiction. I went for decades without reading a story. I read a lot, but not fiction. I mostly read books on philosophy, psychology, metaphysics, self-improvement, and the like, but not fiction. Then somewhere in the early 90s, I started to read fiction again. Here's the story. I went to the beach with my wife. We spread out our blanket, set up our chairs, and did the beach thing. Eventually, my wife stretched out on a blanket and began to take a beach nap. Side note, beach naps are one of my favorite experiences. As she lay there asleep, I noticed that she had a paperback with her, what my youngest son till this day refers to as a beach book. It was titled The Firm by John Grisham. I picked it up and began to read. By the end of the first chapter, I was hooked. Safe to say, this was now my book. I poured through the pages at lightning speed, wondering where this story went. Time passed in a hurry as I was following the exploits of the lead character, chapter after chapter. My imagination was engaged. This began a chapter in my life where I started reading mostly all the Grisham books that came out, several that were made into movies. For some unknown reason, I stopped reading fiction again for well over a decade. I went back to reading heady stuff and factual material, but that changed again when I picked up a beach book. I started to read it and I couldn't put it down. It was as though I was propping my tired eyelids open with toothpicks to stay awake so I could read the next chapter. This story really doesn't have an end, only a beginning. The beginning is engaging our imagination. For me, it took fiction to do it. For you, it may be something different. The point I'm making is that if you're anything like me, you leave your imagination dormant for too long a period of time. This causes a staleness and a sameness to how we approach life. Imagination opens the door to a breath of fresh air. Author Wayne Dyer offered us this piece of wisdom. Imagination is the force of creation. If your imagination has been in hibernation, I request that you poke the bear and wake it up and see where the two of you go. All the best, John.